Uh, Dude, I can't help it, right? Just want to eat everything. Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. Please subscribe to my channel. Tap the notification bell. I'd appreciate it majorly. So I just want to go through a number of articles that have been out there for a few days now. Each one, I don't want to take too much time. This could take a little while, but I'll just go as best as I can through a variety of things. I saw that East Idaho News talked to Annie Cushing, who's the sister of of Joseph Anthony Ryan, Tylee's father, and Lori's third husband. So she gave an interview to Nate Eaton. And there's many things in that I have said before that I haven't heard a single person that's telling the truth on this matter, on the various family members that have spoken to the media. That hasn't changed one iota for me, not even a little bit. But you do have to be careful because basically, it's real cute. It's real cute. There's just so much stuff. And if I try to explain it to you, I would come off sounding like the crazy person. And believe me, I'm not. But when you have everybody lying, okay, it's very easy for this one to tell the truth here, and this one to tell the truth there, and because everybody's lying most of the time, sometimes things are going to turn out to be true because they just kind of play these games. It's just totally madness. But believe me, it's all a bunch of baloney. Okay, so I'll go over that. And, as quick as possible. There was an article of, I think, Nate Eaton again, talking to one of Charles Vallow's sons and their experience, right when Charles Vallow was shot and, trying to locate the funeral home and trying to communicate with Lori. We'll look at that a little bit. A lot of these things, my theories. Let me get that out of the way right now. My first theory is that some of these people, fake their deaths, and that theory I believe in very deeply. I really do. Charles Vallow, Alex Cox, Tylee Daybell, Joseph Anthony Ryan. I'd be inclined to say yes, but like I was saying before, you have to be real careful, man, because I'm telling you, these people play little games, and they're trying to trip you up, and they say this thing because, they know it'll take you right down this path, and then you look like a fool because you turn out to be wrong, and that's the purpose behind it. Whatever, dude. So that's one of my main theory. That's the theory. I believe in that one pretty deeply. The two Loris, I agree that the two Loris in court, those are the same people. Whether, there's two Loris, I might have gotten that wrong maybe. And there might have been some design there, believe me. I understand, okay? I know this sounds totally nuts, but I'm not. The next theory was that, I did think that some of these people were involved in the massacre in northern Mexico where the LeBaron, the Lagarde, or Legrand, I can't remember, family, several women and children were gunned down and killed, some of them burnt alive in the caravan that was going from one point in northern Mexico to another town in northern Mexico, supposedly going to a wedding. I had this idea that they were actually transporting drugs and that some of these people were aware of it, and that this was just how they did it. They would use women and children to basically as the perfect cover because people would be less likely to suspect that women and children, small children, were running drugs, but these people, being all part of the Latter-day Saints, some of the more extreme elements of it, knew about it ahead of time and hijacked them and stole drugs from them, worth lots of money. The reason I believe that is because of the theory. The reason I came up with that theory is because of the footage, the surveillance footage of the Rexburg storage unit that Lori purchased, where Lori's there as well as her brother, presumably, the two of them coming and going, sometimes Alex Cox by himself. And in one instance, I think at least one instance, he's with another man who we don't know the identity of that person. But in that surveillance footage, you see him leave the unit with something that's very large. Nate Eaton called it a large tote, with something hanging over the edge, as well as a huge tire that he, brings in and out, or brings out and in. You don't exactly know, because it seems like some of the clips are, not necessarily in perfect chronological order, whatever. But my theory was that the large tote was a car seat, was an actual car seat, not like a baby car seat, but the actual physical car seat of a big SUV. I was assuming that it was like a Chevy Suburban, because two of the vehicles in the LeBaron massacre in northern Mexico were Chevy Suburbans. Another one was Chevy Tahoe, which is another huge SUV. And the tire that comes in and out that presumably Alex Cox is carrying in and out. In one case, he's carrying it out. The other time, he's rolling it in. It actually looks like it's two different people, if you ask me, because Alex Cox was a big dude. He was big, I saw in another interview a police officer was saying that he played ball in college, which makes sense. When you see him on the body cam, on the Dateline video, he's a big dude. In other pictures, he looks scrawny and skinny. It's totally bogus, man. Believe me. But my theories was that those were backup. That they knew that there would be drugs in one of those vehicles, the Chevy Suburban or the Chevy Tahoe, and packed in the seat somewhere, maybe in the tire, and that they would need these, as backup to basically replace what they'd be taking out of the Chevy Suburban or Chevy Tahoe, as well as the tire that had drugs in it. Because if they slaughtered women and children, and then when the authorities got there, they see there's one of the vehicles is missing a tire and missing an entire seat. Somebody would obviously maybe conclude, something's going on here. Maybe they would conclude that there was drugs in those things that were missing. So that was my second theory, and I believe that one pretty good. I really did. Anyways, so how many people actually fake their death? How am I supposed to know? But I definitely feel like I'm majorly in the ballpark. And part of it's because, I can just see it from people in the comments who are absolutely a part of the conspiracy, trying to confuse and trying to, collectively work against that theory, So, anyways. But let's just go through a few of these. So the two things, the interview with Andy Cushing and the story about Charles Vallow's brother, and they're dealing with the mortuary and stuff, as well as there's an article with Julie Rowe, who I haven't talked a lot about, and I'm not going to talk a lot about in this instance, because there was some email that I think went from Chad Daybell to Lori Vallow, January 2019. I think she was actually in Hawaii at the time, and this is the same time that Charles Vallow supposedly is filing paperwork for divorce and writing things in court divorce filings that Lori Vallow is crazy and that she's thinks she's sent here from God and stuff like that and all that other stuff. So, but we'll look at that. Mostly just one thing. That's one thing that she said. She says she spoke to Tammy Daybell's daughter the day Tammy Daybell died. And so we'll just look at that. It's just one quick statement. But it's just a number of different absurdities that make no sense whatsoever. And then the last thing, the most recent thing, is an email from Charles Vallow to Adam Cox, which supposedly the Chandler police are investigating, according to Fox 10 Phoenix, And we'll take a look at that as well, which is, it's pretty much, it's more of the same, It's more of this just bogus stuff that doesn't make any sense, because it's not supposed to make any sense. That's the whole point, is it to not make sense, okay? And these things, they all pop out, as time is going by, as things are unraveling more and more, and it's like one more little bean just pops out, So, but we'll try to just cruise through each one of these, So in this interview, which I'm not going to play any of, except maybe a little bit, towards the end if I have time, she says that she disputes some of the information that, according to her, we're just going by what she says, and you have to understand everything. It doesn't mean what she says is true. She says that the autopsies of her brother, okay, Joseph Anthony Ryan, said that he was a heavy-set dude and that the height was wrong, and because of that, because Nate Eaton basically asks her, do you not think that maybe he didn't just die of a heart attack, and so that's why she goes over some of the elements of the autopsy that she questioned, that it said that he was a heavy-set guy and that the height was wrong, and so forth. And she says her brother wasn't heavyset. In all of his pictures, he's not. But we don't know that the autopsy actually says that. That's what she says it says, okay? One question I have is, at the point that he died, and she does eventually go out there after his death and meets with Lori Vallow and her niece, Tylee Ryan, but I don't know who actually signed off on his having his body cremated. I don't know that the state actually gets to determine that or not or what. But she went out there, so I just don't know who made that decision. Because at that point Lori wasn't married to him. They were long divorced by then, and supposedly, according to her, they went through a very contentious divorce and a custody battle and so forth that spanned Texas to Arizona. One of the odd things in this interview, which among many, is that even after Lori and her brother, okay, divorced, she remained friends with Lori, okay, to the extent that they actually went on a vacation together. She knew Charles. She knew Charles after Lori had divorced her brother. She says that they came to Florida to go on vacation together. She even says it's one of their favorite family vacations or something like that. Again, I think according to, I don't know, this article here. I believe it's in this one, please. This is Fox 13, Salt Lake City. I don't know if this is Lauren Steinbrecher. Even after Lori and Joe divorced, Annie, that's this person here, okay? Annie explained that she kept in touch with Lori. At one point, Annie said Lori and her new husband, Charles Vallow, took a trip to Florida where Annie had been living. She said it was one of her family's favorite vacations. Okay, so she was living in Florida at the time. I think she went to college there as well as worked after college. I have no idea. I don't know how long she lived there, and I don't. I would like to know when that date was. It's not particularly important, but I think it's a little odd that her brother went through a contentious divorce with her sister-in-law, and yet she's taking a vacation with her sister-in-law and her new husband. Definitely. That's not something I would normally do, but I'm a dude, and dudes are different than females, but nonetheless, it's even worse, I think, But the other thing that I find even more peculiar, because later, in this interview, she says that for the most part, Lori was, not, extreme until 2018, until Joseph Anthony Ryan's after his death, and when she goes out there, she says that something like Lori said that some days I just want to put the kids in the car and I'll drive all of us off the cliff. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's and she says that Lori kind of picked up on her body language reaction to that, so she pulled back and stuff like that. That's 2018 after her brother died. But there's the story about Lori's brother, Alex Cox, attacking her brother with a stun gun. And he went to jail for it for 90 days for some kind of assault, some kind of felony assault in the county jail, and threatened to kill him, threatened to kill her brother, okay? I don't know if this is, because that was 2007, August 2007 is when that occurred. I don't know if that's before their vacation to Florida or after, but it's certainly before 2018, and, it just is pretty odd, okay? That she continued to have this relationship with Lori, despite the fact that her brother went through a contentious divorce with her, and her brother, who apparently, I don't know if he informed her that Lori's brother, Alex, assaulted him with a stun gun and chased him down and, basically said, I'm going to kill you or something, or, threatened his life. For which Alex Cox spent 90 days in a county jail in Travis County, which is the county for Austin, I believe. Anyways, okay, so, there's other things, believe me, in this interview, but, what's the point of just going on and on and on and on? So, but onto the article about one of the sons spoke to, I guess this is Nate Eaton again, it is, and he gave a different name. He said, we'll call him Steve. We'll call him Steve, even though, I think everybody knows these two guys' names. I mean, they're still on Facebook. I mean, they're right there in the picture, for goodness sakes. But whatever, we'll call him Steve. Because he's worried about, his safety and just the public, whatever, harassment, which that's understandable, I guess. But everyone knows who they are by this point. In any event, the thing that I took a notice of was he's basically saying that Lori wouldn't tell him, where the funeral was and stuff like that. And, and they couldn't get any information from Lori, him and his brother. I think they were on like a group text, regarding that, where Charles's body was and where the funeral was going to be and so forth. And so Steve, this is one of his sons, whose real name isn't Steve, says Lori refused to tell them where Charles's body was or if a funeral was planned. Steve and his brother eventually figured out the mortuary where their dad was taken, and they walked inside to speak with the funeral director. He was very shaken and nervous. We asked him for information, and he said something like, I can't tell you that. It was requested that I tell you nothing, Steve says. A memorial service was arranged, and Lori never showed up. Neither did Joshua, J.J. Vallow, Charles and Lori's 7-year-old son, who's been missing since September. Kay and Larry Woodcock, J.J.'s grandparents, begged Lori to allow the boy to attend, but she ignored their requests. The last time Steve saw J.J. was last April. Okay, so, and that very well may be. I have no idea. I don't. I know that there's a couple different sort of obituaries for Charles, And before I read that, my understanding was that, basically Kay Vallow arranged to have some kind of memorial where he was born and where she's from, in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And that's what this obituary says. It says a memorial celebration of his life will be held August 3rd, 2019 at the Lake Charles Civic Center, Jean Lafitte room from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. And this is his full obituary that goes through his life and all of his life. So, but his, there is no obituary over here at the actual, funeral home where he was taken to and basically buried his body. I'm not sure what cemetery he was born at. I don't think it's actually on here. There's no obituary, and there's no memorial service or anything. There might have been a memorial service, but it's not listed on this thing. There's just no obituary. There's just some notes here where people post. You can post, I guess you write down for something for them to post for you here, but there's no obituary. There's no details about where there's going to be a memorial service or whatever, and I just don't know. I don't know if the brothers actually went to this funeral home or what, it's just not totally clear to me. And that's the extent of that. I can't really go any further. I wasn't there. But to me, it looks like the only memorial service was the one that was in Lake Charles, Louisiana, set up by Kay Vallow, where he was born. He was born in Lake Charles, So, I think he remains, his body wasn't cremated, so I don't think they exhumed his body, but I don't really know for a fact. Anyways, let's move on. So, the other thing was this last article about, with Julie Rowe and this email that was sent from Chad Daybell to Lori Vallow in January 2019. I believe that's when she supposedly disappeared with Tylee, and supposedly abandoned JJ and Charles, for 2.5 months. But she was in Hawaii. She was in Princeville, Hawaii, and I believe she was there setting up living arrangements, setting up everything. This is where everybody's setting up stuff. They're all working together, in my opinion, but that's when supposedly Chad Daybell sent her an email. And to me, it was totally insignificant, I don't really care about it. But one of the things in here is that it says Julie Rowe said she spoke to Daybell's daughter the day her mother, Tammy, died. And she, saying she was afraid her father would remarry. And this is Julie Rowe. This is again, same problem again. We're going by what Julie Rowe says. We're not hearing from Tammy Daybell's daughter. We're hearing from Julie Rowe saying that this is what Tammy Daybell's daughter said. So we just have to. This is what Julie Rowe is saying. She said. We don't know if Tammy Daybell's daughter actually said this, but she says that quote. And she said, "Julie, do you know what I'm most scared of?" And I said, "No, what?" And she said, "My dad getting remarried." Rowe remembered. So she wasn't worried about her mother dying at age 49, which is a pretty young age to die in her sleep one night because she went to bed with a cold or a bad cough one night. But she's worried about her, that her dad might get remarried. And then again, this is just what Julie Rowe says Tammy Daybell's daughter said to her. So. Lastly, there's this. The latest is that, and it says Chandler PD confirms it's investigating confirms investigation into an email from Charles Vallow before his death, and this is it right here. And it's to Adam Cox. Alex Cox is his brother, and Lori Vallow's brother. Lori Vallow's maiden name is Cox. And it's just, this is and it's from June 29th. This is just 12 days before he was killed, and it's more about Chad Daybell, and it just says, I'll read it very real quickly, but it's just sort of more nonsense if you ask me. And why this is all of a sudden Chandler PD is investigating this now, and what they weren't investigating this when he was shot and killed. I think that's a fair question, but it doesn't matter. It's all just sort of gobbledygook, in my opinion. And Charles Vallow, he's the one who withdrew. He dismissed his own divorce filings. He withdrew the divorce filings. He's Lori Vallow's estranged husband. In my opinion, Charles Vallow is alive right now. I believe that pretty good. And I just don't know how many of these people are alive. I'm thinking Alex Cox. I'm thinking Tammy Daybell. Joseph Anthony Ryan, I'm not sure. I have a feeling that maybe he's actually dead, and that that interview is a little bit of a sucker play, and it's just trying to draw me in. But I don't know. Who knows? But Charles Vallow, he's the one who withdrew, who didn't go through with the divorce of Lori Vallow. And if he really wanted a separation, wanted a divorce here, he could have very easily. He had no money, even though his sister, Kay Vallow, has said repeatedly, at least early on, she did, that he was well off and he was a successful businessman. And based on most of the stuff I've read, that's not true. He didn't have any money. The only thing he had was his life insurance that he left to her, to his sister, which would tell you right there that, if he wanted a divorce, he changed his life insurance beneficiary to his sister. Why wouldn't he just get the divorce? And this is another email 12 days before he shot, basically back to where he was, in January and February 2019, the same year, saying that Lori's crazy, And so why wouldn't he just walk away, get a divorce? That he had no financial liability because he didn't have any money, which is usually what causes people not to get divorced, because you don't want to split up whatever money you have. He didn't have any. Or at least not legally. So, anyways, this says from Charles on June 29th, 2019, Adam, open this letter and see what she did. I'm not sure if the relationship with her and Chad Daybell, but they are up to something. She created an email alias for me, as I've never set this one up. She sent this yesterday, and I guess she forgot all her emails are on the computer at my house. I asked her to explain it, and she started blaming you, Brandon, and me for perpetuating. I'm not a good reader. Perpetuating a scheme against her. Just more of the paranoia. She will not explain it. I'm going to send it to Chad Daybell's wife. Her name is Tammy, and I found her email address on their website. I've got her cell phone number, too. Sounds very suspicious to me. What do you think? Whenever she gets caught doing this kind of stuff, she starts blaming everybody. else. Mostly me, you, and Brandon. Brandon and I are the victims of her craziness. I wish you luck trying to help her. I was the only one brave enough to try to get her help in January, and look what happened to me. The whole family put a scarlet letter on me. Maybe now they can see what they're up against. Thanks. And that's the extent of it. I mean, I don't know what, she's saying she created an email alias for me, as I've never set this one up. She sent this yesterday, and I guess she forgot. All her emails are on the computer at my house though. But he was staying at a hotel then, he wasn't living at that house that she was renting, He was only visiting, and he was there the day he got shot. He was there to pick up JJ, I guess, to take him to school, but he was staying at a hotel nearby. So I don't know. I guess that's what he's calling the house where she's staying, his house, that was rented. He didn't own it. But, I mean, what he's referring to, there's a letter attached there, and he's saying that Lori sent a letter to Chad Daybell pretending she was him, pretending she was Charles, saying that Charles wanted Chad Daybell to write a book for him, something like that. And that, wanting him to come to Arizona, to do that and to stay there and talk with them to go over, writing a book for Charles. She's pretending she's Charles, supposedly. It's more, in my opinion, this is just all confusion. It's just like everybody's lying, and that's the whole plan. So that's like there's no truth to cling to whatsoever, And then every once in a while, one person says something that's true, and if you go in that direction, you get proven wrong, and so they're like, oh, see, you're wrong. It's just totally bogus, And that is the story there, man. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. And I will see you in the next video. Later, man.